Eloise Parker lived a quiet life. The retired teacher cherished her solitude. Her days were filled with books, gardening, and the occasional visit from her niece. She found joy in the simple pleasures of life, like the scent of blooming flowers and the rustle of leaves in the wind. Her small cottage, nestled on the outskirts of town, was her sanctuary. It was a place where she could escape the hustle and bustle of the world and find peace in the embrace of nature. It was a haven she rarely left. The garden she tended was a testament to her love for nature, with vibrant flowers and lush greenery that seemed to thrive under her care. Then Adam Clay came along.
Adam, a beekeeper, rented the small apartment above my garage. He was new to the area, looking for a fresh start after a series of personal setbacks. He was a breath of fresh air. His presence brought a new energy to the place, and his enthusiasm for beekeeping was infectious.
Adam, with his kind eyes and gentle demeanor, quickly befriended Eloise. He had a way of making people feel at ease, and Eloise was no exception. He shared her love for nature, often bringing her fresh honey and stories from his beehives. His tales of the bees' intricate lives fascinated her, and she found herself looking forward to his visits.
We would spend hours talking. Our conversations ranged from the mundane to the profound, and I found myself opening up to her in ways I hadn't with anyone else. Our conversations were a balm to her loneliness. She had spent so many years in solitude that having someone to talk to was a welcome change. Eloise became like a mother to me. She offered wisdom and guidance, and in return, I brought laughter and companionship into her life. And I brought laughter back into her life. We shared many moments of joy and laughter, and our bond grew stronger with each passing day.
Eloise found herself looking forward to his visits. Her days, once filled with quiet solitude, were now brightened by his presence. Her heart warmed at his genuine concern. She felt a sense of connection that she hadn't experienced in years. Their friendship was a sanctuary for both. In each other they found a kindred spirit, someone who understood and appreciated them. Eloise, with her wisdom and experience, offered Adam guidance. She became a mentor to him, sharing her knowledge and helping him navigate the challenges of life. Adam, in turn, brought vibrance and connection to Eloise's world. His youthful energy and passion for life were a refreshing change for her. They were an unlikely pair, brought together by fate and circumstance. Yet their bond was strong and unwavering. Their bond, however, was undeniable. It was a friendship that transcended age and background, built on mutual respect and affection. It was a bond that would be tested in the fires of tragedy. Life has a way of throwing unexpected challenges, and their friendship would soon face its greatest test.
One crisp autumn afternoon, I found Eloise in her garden. The air was cool, and the leaves were turning shades of red and gold. She was unusually quiet, her gaze distant. Something felt off. There was a heaviness in the air, a sense of foreboding that I couldn't shake. When I inquired, she simply shook her head and dismissed her strange behavior as fatigue. But I knew her well enough to sense that something was deeply troubling her.
Adam, unconvinced but respecting her privacy, retreated to his apartment. He couldn't help but worry about her, his mind racing with possibilities. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. His concern for Eloise grew with each passing moment, and he resolved to find out what was troubling her. The next morning, Adam found Eloise's front door ajar. The sight immediately sent a shiver down his spine. He had known Eloise for years, and she was always meticulous about locking her doors. Something was terribly wrong. An unsettling silence hung in the air. The house, usually filled with the soft hum of classical music and the scent of freshly brewed coffee, was now eerily quiet. Dread coiled in his stomach. His mind raced with possibilities, each more horrifying than the last. He could feel his heartbeat in his throat.
Eloise, Eloise, are you there? His voice echoed through the empty halls, growing more desperate with each call.
There was no answer. The silence was deafening, amplifying his growing fear. He pushed the door open further and stepped inside. The dim light cast long shadows, making the familiar space feel alien and foreboding. The air was thick with a chilling stillness. Every creak of the floorboards seemed to echo like a thunderclap in the oppressive quiet. He found her in the living room. The sight stopped him in his tracks, his breath catching in his throat. Eloise, his vibrant, book-loving friend, lay lifeless on the floor. The woman who had once been the heart and soul of every gathering, now a silent, tragic figure. a single piece of paper clutched in her hand. It was crumpled, as if she had held onto it with her last ounce of strength. It was a suicide note. The words, though smudged and tear-stained, were unmistakable.
My blood ran cold. The realization hit me like a freight train, leaving me paralyzed with shock. I stumbled back, my mind reeling. How could this have happened? Eloise had always been so strong, so full of life. The words on the note blurred through my tears. She wrote about feeling trapped, about a mistake that had cost her everything. Eloise wrote about being trapped, a mistake, a devastating financial loss. She had been deceived, and the weight of it had crushed her spirit.
The police arrived, their faces grim. The flashing lights outside added to the surreal horror of the scene. Adam, numb with shock, recounted his friendship with Eloise. He spoke of their shared memories, their laughter, and her unwavering kindness. He told them about her kindness, her generosity, and her love for her garden. Eloise had always found solace among her plants, nurturing them with the same care she showed her friends. He struggled to comprehend how such a gentle soul could be driven to such a desperate act. The Eloise he knew would never have given up so easily. The police, however, seemed skeptical. Their eyes, sharp and probing, suggested they suspected there was more to the story. Their eyes lingered on Adam, their questions sharp and accusatory. They wanted to know every detail, every interaction he had with Eloise in the days leading up to her death.
A thorough search of Eloise's house revealed the truth. Hidden among her belongings were clues to the torment she had endured. She had fallen victim to a sophisticated phishing scam. The emails, seemingly legitimate, had lured her into a trap. The scammers, posing as bank officials, had drained her life savings. They had preyed on her trust and left her with nothing. Her bank account was empty. Her retirement fund vanished. The financial security she had worked her entire life to build was gone in an instant. Eloise, proud and independent, had been too ashamed to seek help. The shame and fear of admitting she had been deceived had isolated her in her final days. She had seen suicide as her only escape from the financial and emotional ruin. The note was her final cry for help, a tragic testament to the cruel sting of deception.
The suspicion fell on Adam. He was the tenant, a quiet man who kept to himself. His reserved nature made him an easy target for the neighborhood's gossip. He had access to Eloise's home, often helping her with small chores and errands. This access, however, became a double-edged sword. The police, driven by their own biases and the pressure to close the case quickly, saw him as an easy target. They were eager to pin the crime on someone, and Adam fit their narrative. Adam was arrested, charged with theft and manslaughter. The evidence was circumstantial at best, but the authorities were relentless. He was thrust into a world of cold bars and harsh judgments. The prison walls closed in on him, a stark contrast to the freedom he once knew.
Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the prosecution built a compelling narrative. They were skilled at weaving a story that painted me as the villain. They painted me as a con man, preying on a lonely old woman. Their words were like daggers, each one piercing deeper into my soul. The media, hungry for a sensational story, lapped it up. I became a pariah, my name synonymous with betrayal and deceit.
His face, plastered on newspapers and television screens, was etched with despair. The public's judgment was swift and unforgiving. His lawyer, a young and ambitious woman named Sarah, believed in his innocence. She was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. She saw the genuine grief in his eyes, the raw pain of losing a dear friend. Her empathy fueled her resolve. The raw pain of losing a dear friend was evident in every tear he shed, every sleepless night he endured. Sarah dug deeper, uncovering inconsistencies in the prosecution's case. She pored over every document, every piece of evidence, looking for the truth. She found evidence of Eloise's online activity, her interactions with the scammers. The digital trail was clear and damning. Her interactions with the scammers were the key. The truth came out, unraveling the prosecution's case.
The police, pressured by Sarah's findings and the growing public scrutiny, were forced to drop the charges. I was released, but the damage was done. I walked out of the courtroom a free man, but the ordeal had taken its toll. The relief was bittersweet. The accusation, the trial, the public humiliation, it had left an indelible mark. The weight of it all was crushing. The courtroom battles, the relentless media scrutiny, the whispers behind my back. It was a nightmare that seemed never-ending.
His name was cleared, but the whispers persisted. The stigma of the accusation clung to him like a shadow. The experience ignited a fire in him, a burning desire for justice and truth. Adam was determined to find justice for Eloise. He would avenge her, not just for her sake but to reclaim his own life and dignity. Adam knew he couldn't do it alone. He needed help. He reached out to his fellow beekeepers, a tight-knit community bound by their shared passion and unwavering loyalty.
I told them about Eloise, about the scam, about my wrongful accusation. I spoke of the deep-seated corruption that allowed these criminals to operate with impunity.
The beekeepers, outraged by the injustice, rallied around Adam. They were a diverse group: farmers, teachers, veterans, and even a retired police officer. They shared a deep sense of community and a fierce loyalty to their own. They were united in their grief for Eloise and their thirst for justice.
We pooled our resources, our skills, and our connections. They became my eyes and ears, scouring the internet, tracking down leads, and piecing together the intricate web of the scam.
They discovered that Eloise was not an isolated case. The scammers, operating from a call center in a neighboring state, had preyed on hundreds of vulnerable individuals, stealing their life savings and leaving behind a trail of shattered lives. The beekeepers, fueled by righteous anger and a shared sense of purpose, decided to take matters into their own hands.
We would bring the scammers to justice, even if it meant operating outside the law. We were a swarm, buzzing with determination. Our sting, though small, would be mighty. We would avenge Eloise and all the other victims.